When David Tennant appeared at the end of The Power of the Doctor and said his iconic, "What?" I think that's probably what millions of Doctor Who fans said as well. Now obviously we knew he was returning, but just seeing him back in this role after so long was just crazy. I personally was stunned. In fact, I was pretty much lost for words, which you'll be able to see if you go back and watch our ups and downs review of the episode. I just didn't know what to say. But with this most recent cliffhanger dropping, we thought now would be a good time to take a look at some of the other amazing cliffhangers that Doctor Who has given us. So with that in mind, I'm Ellie with Who Culture, here with 10 Doctor Who cliffhangers that made you say, "What?" Number 10, the Dalek Fleet in Bad Wolf. Now, as if Bad Wolf didn't already have enough going on with the killer android, the rather permanent Big Brother evictions, and Captain Jack Harkness hiding a gun somewhere, on top of all that madness, RTD just had to go and throw Daleks into the mix as well. The revelation at the end of Bad Wolf that these Skaro natives had survived their apparent destruction and were the ones in control of the game station was actually probably the first major cliffhanger of modern Doctor Who. Now, the backstory of Christopher Eccleston's Ninth Doctor kind of implied that the Daleks had all been defeated in the Time War, and so the discovery of an entire Dalek fleet heading straight for our heroes was quite the bombshell for both the Doctor and for the audience. And that closing moment where the Doctor basically defies the Daleks' orders and risks Rose's life is quite inspiring, but also rather risky, and audiences were left unsure whether they should applaud his nerve or chastise his recklessness. Number 9, the 12th Doctor meets Santa Claus in Death in Heaven. Considering that Doctor Who aired a Christmas special every year from 2005 to 2017, it is quite surprising that it wasn't until 2014 that we finally saw the Doctor encounter Father Christmas. And I'm going to say Father Christmas because in England, that is what he is called, not Santa Claus. I feel very strongly about this. Midway through the closing credits of the Series 8 finale, the Doctor is suddenly awoken by a knocking at the Tardis door, and then Nick Frost's Father Christmas just casually strolls in and asks the Doctor what he wants for Christmas. We knew that the next episode was going to be a Christmas special, so that in itself wasn't massively surprising. But what was surprising was the introduction of a mythical creature here, or a mythical being. Mostly mythical beings in Doctor Who are given some sort of supernatural explanation, but here it genuinely seemed like Father Christmas had walked into the TARDIS. And also, he seemed to be an acquaintance of the Doctor's, which left us with quite a few questions. Mainly, what's on the Doctor's Christmas list? This was also a mid-credits scene, something that was unheard of in Doctor Who at the time, and so people were a little bit jarred, a little bit shocked, and had a lot of questions. Number 8, Donna in the TARDIS in Doomsday. Doomsday really was an emotional rollercoaster of an episode and marked the end of an era for modern Doctor Who as it saw the departure of its first companion. Now, there wasn't a dry eye in the nation as we witnessed the 10th Doctor and Rose saying goodbye to one another on Bad Wolf Bay. But before we or the Doctor had time to process any of it, a massive bombshell was dropped in the form of Catherine Tate in a wedding dress in the TARDIS. Now, the Doctor's iconic what reaction debuted in this moment, and the no-nonsense banter of Catherine Tate immediately set a new dynamic and tone for the following episode, The Runaway Bride. But this ending left audiences in a really conflicted state of utter devastation at the loss of Rose, but also a somewhat guilty feeling of excitement and anticipation for what was to come. Number 7, floating in space in The Woman Who Fell to Earth. Jodie Whittaker's debut episode introduced a lot of new elements to Doctor Who. You had a new Doctor, a new gang of companions, and a new central location on Earth, which was nice. It was a nice change to just always ending up in London. But one thing that is recognised by audiences as a mainstay of Doctor Who was missing: the TARDIS. It's not unusual for the TARDIS to take a bit of a beating following a regeneration, and a redesign was expected to accompany this kind of fresh vision of Doctor Who. But expectations were quickly subverted when the episode ended not with this new TARDIS team beaming to the TARDIS, but just into open space. Now, some fans were a bit disappointed at the lack of a new TARDIS reveal, and others were just in complete shock that these new companions were now floating in space, rapidly running out of air, and it was a really good hook for the following episode. Now, say what you will about the Whittaker-Chibnall era, but this was certainly a gripping ending to their debut episode. Number 6, the Doctor is still blind in Oxygen. This Series 10 episode centres around a space station and the value of oxygen amongst its crew, so they aptly named it Oxygen. We see the 12th Doctor, Bill and Nardole, take on these zombies in spacesuits. Seriously, what is it with Stephen Moffat and spacesuits that have a mind of their own? And also, the inhumane values of a company who places profit above human life. Now, the episode does give you a few near-fatal moments. Just to give you a bit of a fright, you have Bill's suit malfunction and the Doctor give her his. Then he goes blind as a result of his prolonged lack of oxygen, and then Bill's suit malfunctions again and seemingly kills her. Luckily, the Doctor is able to save Bill and Nardole is able to restore the Doctor's sight. Or so we thought. It's revealed at the end of the episode that the Doctor is in fact still blind when he says to Nardole, "I can't look at anything ever again." Now, it is very rare to see the Doctor suffer major injuries, and it certainly left us with a lot of questions heading into the following episode. Number 5, the universe ends in the Pandorica opens. Now, it's no secret that when Matt Smith took over from David Tennant, there was a lot of concern that he wouldn't be up to the task. But it's a tale as old as time, or at least as old as Doctor Who. The new guy is never going to be as good as the one before. And it's a tale that's generally proven wrong. And I think that Series 5's The Pandorica Opens really proved that Matt Smith was worthy of the role. And it also introduced a premise that was so obvious and yet inconceivable at the same time. Now, it stands to reason that the most feared being in the universe would be the one person who constantly prevails over all the other menacing creatures in the galaxy. The idea of all of the Doctor's enemies working together in an alliance was just brilliantly created by Stephen Moffat and left us with a truly brilliant cliffhanger as the Doctor is dragged into the Pandorica and sealed inside as the TARDIS explodes, destroying the universe. Now, this ending left us with so many questions. How is the Doctor going to escape this perfectly designed prison? How is he going to fix the universe? Did Robot Rory really just shoot Amy? And most importantly, did River get out of the exploding TARDIS in time? Number 4, Bad Wolf in Turn Left. Turn Left was a brilliant what-if episode, and it really highlighted just how many times the Doctor has saved the world, but also how many people he's influenced to follow in his footsteps. But of course, the biggest element of this episode was the return of Rose. Now, we had seen glimpses of Rose's return throughout Series 4, but this was the most prominent appearance and really laid the groundwork for the upcoming 2-part series finale. Now, there still was a lot of mystery surrounding Rose. She wouldn't give her identity to Donna, and there was no explanation how she was travelling from her parallel universe to Donna's. But it was made clear towards the end of the episode that her one goal, her one mission, was to warn the Doctor of the impending darkness. What was really thrilling about this cliffhanger was that it was so personal. Rather than just explain to Donna what was going to happen so she could tell the Doctor, she gave her a simple message that not only warned the Doctor of the upcoming destruction, but also had a personal meaning that instantly gave him just a glimmer of hope that he would see her again. And then seeing the words Bad Wolf plastered everywhere on screen just created such a buzz for the following week's episode. And it also gave the audiences that glimmer of hope that they would finally see the Doctor and Rose reunited. Number 3, River's identity in A Good Man Goes to War. The identity of River Song had been a long-standing mystery ever since her first appearance in Silence in the Library. And while some people, including Amy, had guessed that she would become the Doctor's wife, there was a second layer to her identity that perhaps people didn't see coming. Now, in hindsight, maybe it was obvious. There were a few hints and clues dropped in the build-up to this reveal, but it was executed so well that the reveal still felt like a shocking twist. River Song is Melody Pond. Melody Pond is Amy and Rory's daughter. What? Now, the range of reactions from the Doctor's flustered excitement to the sheer look of shock on Amy and Rory's face, It's probably a pretty good representation of the spectrum of audience responses as well. Now, while it was brilliant to finally know who Riversong was, we actually were left with more questions than we started with. Like, how can Riversong be older than her parents? What happened to her once she was taken from Demon's Run? Why didn't she say anything sooner? And how does Stephen Moffat's mind work? Number 2, the Angel Doctor in Village of the Angels. Now, say what you will about Flux, but it cannot be denied that episode 4, Village of the Angels, ended on one hell of a cliffhanger. After discovering a weeping angel inside Claire's mind, the Doctor enters Claire's mind to try and expel the invader. But instead, she learns that this weeping angel is hiding from the Division and offers the Doctor a deal: her missing memories in exchange for helping the angel escape. Immediately, this seems reckless. Why would you trust a weeping angel? And of course, when the moment arrives, the angel double-crosses the Doctor and offers her to the Division in exchange for its own freedom. But what happens next is truly unexpected. Now, it's not uncommon to see the Doctor find themselves in a sticky situation, but very rarely do we actually see them defeated. And yet, in the closing moments of this episode, we see the Doctor transform into a weeping angel. This was a moment that left many an audience member with their jaws on the floor and a what the f expression on their face. Number 1, David Tennant's return in The Power of the Doctor. The return of Russell T Davies and David Tennant is a massive twist for modern Doctor Who. The pair worked so well together from Series 2 to Series 4, so the prospect of them creating new content just sent fans into a frenzy. With the announcement of David Tennant's return and Ncuti Gatwa's casting, the question on everybody's lips in the build-up to Jodie Whittaker's final episode was, who was she going to regenerate into? Now, it was fairly obvious that it was going to be one of these two actors, but the fact that it was David Tennant left us with so much more confusion than if it had been Ncuti Gatwa. A new face is to be expected. An old face revisited? Well, that's something completely different. Now, in this instance, the reveal itself wasn't massively shocking. We knew that David Tennant was going to be returning, but the mystery and the confusion surrounding his return, that made for a brilliant cliffhanger. One that will now keep fans guessing for an entire year before they get any sort of answers. Damn you, Russell T Davies! And that concludes our list. Now, there are some obvious ones that we purposely left out because we wanted to look for the more obscure answers. But if you think we did miss any really good examples, then do let us know in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe and tap that notification bell so you never miss a Who Culture video again. Also, head over to Twitter and follow us there, and Instagram as well. And I can be found across various social medias just by searching Ellie Littlechild. Don't forget to look for Sean Ferrick as well, and Dan the Meegs too. I've been Ellie with Who Culture, and in the words of Riversong herself, goodbye, sweeties.